Since you're writing a research paper, you have to concern yourself with the citations. So what are citations? Citations are directly related to your selected evidence from the sources that we've been using. They are not directly related to your ideas about the evidence. That's something very different. So let's review the terms. The bibliography for your essay is also known as the works cited page or your references. You've already selected those and created your works cited page. Now we need to worry about the in-text citations, which are also known as parenthetical because they're what you put technically in parentheses. All right, moving on. Let's take a look at what a citation is. Now notice I'm using the website plagiarism.org because citations are what save you from getting accused of plagiarism. So if you scroll through here, you can see their definition at plagiarism.org is that a citation is the way you tell your readers that certain material in your work came from another source. Now you are allowed to comment on the material, but the presentation of that material needs to be cited. Here you can read why. But when do I need to cite is also extremely important. Whenever you borrow words or ideas, you need to acknowledge their source. So words might be the direct quote. Ideas might be your paraphrasing or summarizing of someone's quotes in the article or in the story that we're reading. So read these to yourself. All right, so let's move on and go back to the information. Okay, so the idea is the same. Bibliography is a list of where you found your info. Remember, look, it's alphabetized. And this is what's called a hanging indent right here. Why do we do this? We'll see in just a second. Let me put it side by side with a paragraph from an essay. So this paragraph from this essay shows you how to cite your sources within the paragraph. Notice there's no actual quote in the paragraph. You do not have to directly quote your evidence, but even when you paraphrase it, make sure you say where it came from. Here's the first good example. In fact, studies show that the more we read, the better we write. Now, who said this? Who did these studies? Who published this information? Someone named Jimmy Killingsworth. How did I randomly know his first name? Because he's over here in my works cited page, and I read this article. That's what I summarized from his article. Now I need to give him credit for it, so I simply put his last name and the page number where those ideas were found. Let's go to the next sentence. In fact, according to Noel Bennett, the number of pages per year directly relates to the amount of homework we accurately complete. So this Bennett lady right here wrote something called Halo of the Sun. This is another way I can do my parenthetical or in-text citations. I can put the author's name at the beginning of the sentence. And then in the parentheses, all I need to do is put the page number. Notice that I don't put this. That's a no-no. MLA format says just page number. Also notice there's no comma here. So if you make those little errors, that's just showing you haven't been paying attention to how to do MLA formatted papers. Okay, here's another example. There's an initiative in New York this year that promises to take children from basic levels of literacy to advanced, comma, in under a year. Again, we can go here and very quickly find who wrote or presented or published that information because my works cited page is so easy to read. Okay, well, how do I know what goes in parentheses? It's a really good question. I'm going to give you some resources. Usually, this is what it's going to look like. If I ever become a famous writer, you can quote me like this. Or just Google it. I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. Or see the document posted on Canvas. Plenty of resources for you. You'll need your EOL book for this. Let me add that. EOL. It's really important. Okay, when and how often do I cite? This is repetitive, but it's repetitive on purpose, so you don't mess this up. You cite every single thought that is not your own. And it will be more than once per paragraph, or, let me tell you this, if you only have one citation per paragraph, you don't have enough evidence to prove your point. So yes, your paragraph should be a combination of evidence from all three of your sources. Let me write that. Combo of evidence from all three of your sources. All right. Last but not least, how do these quotations look when I put them in my paper? This is a big deal for you to get correct because it's really just a matter of looking up what order the punctuation goes in. Is it comma, parentheses, comma, quotation mark, comma, colon? What is it? So let's start here. Do you need evidence from all sources? Absolutely. They can be direct quotes, it can be paraphrased, it can be summarized. Only with direct quotes do you use these. When you paraphrase, it's in your own words. Do you need quotes from all sources? No, not necessarily. You might be a master paraphraser, but quotes do add variety. Variety is good style. All right, so remember that your evidence does not need to be directly quoted in complete sentences. You choose the best part of the quote, then paraphrase the rest. That is a sophisticated writing style. Now for help, I'm going to show you where to go. I'm going to show you in your EOL book. So let's look at first at page, if you go here in your EOL, let me open this up a little bit bigger. We're on page 842. It's a little hard to see. Let's see if I can zoom in. All right, so if you go to EOL page 842, it shows you exactly what I just showed you in those previous slides. I'll make it even bigger. Okay, you can see that here it is quotation mark. There's no comma before it if it's naturally part of the sentence. This is paraphrasing. This is the direct quote. And then notice there's no comma or period. There's this little guy, and then author, last name, period. So this always goes outside the quotation marks. Then don't worry about the brackets right now. You probably won't have any of those for now, and you probably won't have any block quotes. But if you go through 842 and scroll to 853, let me get us there. Come on, 853. Oop. Okay, here we go. 853 brings us to this right here. Punctuating quotations correctly. So this page 854, something you should use in your EOL to make sure you do this right. You really just need to copy the format. Always use quotation marks to enclose a person's exact words. You know that. This is what it looks like. Now, pay attention to if you need this comma. For the most part, you will, unless you've become a really sophisticated writer, and we'll talk about that later. But close quotation marks, parentheses, last name, page number, close parentheses, period, in that order. Commas and periods are usually placed inside the quotation marks, unless the quotation is immediately followed by a parenthetical citation. So don't listen to that. It's usually going to look like this. You don't have the opportunity to close the quotation mark because you have to give the citation. So let's go, to semicolons and colons, how helpful they are. Thank goodness we've been studying those. This is one more way to use your punctuation. You can introduce a quote like this. You can end a quote, then semicolon, and then finish the idea paraphrased. So there are many, many ways you can add variety to your writing here. Now let's go all the way back to page 411. That's the other page I want you to try out. And that is chapter 14, and it's all about quotation marks. It's in the same chapter you just studied, and it will show you more and more examples of how your punctuation needs to look. Let me open that up for you to see. How does your punctuation need to look? Comma. There's no citation here because it was put in front. So the period is going inside the quotation marks. Here, the comma goes inside the quotation marks because the citation was put a little more creatively. Here you go. Or paraphrasing is that. So 411 and 412 will give you plenty more examples. How you can break up a quote. All of these are ways to get higher grades because your writing will look more and more sophisticated. All right, that's it. If you go to Canvas, you'll see that all of this is there for you. The articles, if you lost them, are prompt. Please keep referring to it. I'm going to add more information about what was missing in the outlines that I saw. And then if you open this, you have a template of what your essay needs to look like. Some of you used it and you did fine. Others, you still have some work to do. You don't want to lose points on this. It also has a sample works cited page for you. All right, good luck.